Hello, my name is Cesar Ledesma, and this is my multimedia presentation on the revolution in the fields, Dolores Huerta exhibit. Before I go into the actual content of the exhibit, I wanted to first give my overall thoughts on my experience exploring the virtual tour. First, I would like to start off by acknowledging the vast amount of artifacts and artwork, and say that I appreciated the layout of the exhibit. It made it easy to follow from her early life and motivations, and how the organization went on to the legacy that was left. Overall, the tour was easy to maneuver around, and the PDFs made it easier to see the information. I do think this exhibit and learning about Dolores Huerta is important for young people. Regardless of ethnicity, the actions of a collective group of people led to the change of many. And looking at the society we live in now, if we want change, there has to be leaders. Change is not done overnight, but if there is a spark, the fire takes off, and it is hard to get rid of it. That spark just needs to be ignited. Some of the new information I learned from the exhibit is that Dolores Huerta was arrested more than 24 times. Talk about someone who does not give up. Usually there is a face to the United Farm Workers movement, and that face is not of Dolores, it is of Cesar Chavez, but Dolores Huerta is equally as important as Cesar Chavez. Not just is Dolores important, but all the people who sacrificed their time and efforts deserve to be honored as well. As we learned in class, I was aware that people were hurt during the strikes, but I was not aware that people died. As someone from Delano, I knew that Larry Itilong took part of the strikes, and he is often a face that is left out, but the Filipinos were actually the ones who initiated the strikes, and they provided the strike kitchen. Something that is often not talked about is that the UFW included many different ethnic groups, not just Filipinos and Mexican Americans. It also included African Americans, Puerto Ricans, and Yemeni. Even more interesting is that the exhibit used the word Mexicans Americans. This is related to the course in that we learned about how undocumented immigrants were actually seen as a problem for the organization. Because the farmers would hire them to replace workers that were on strikes, this is something I also learned from the person I interviewed in my Latinx oral report, who stated that his tires were popped by the organization for trying to go to work, while his status was still undocumented. As mentioned in the book, Chicano Movement for Beginners from class, women had the struggles of discrimination because of their ethnicity, but also because of their gender. Women were expected to take active roles during the strikes, but also family responsibilities fell on them. Dolores Huerta herself had 11 children to take care of. This in turn made her also fight against sexism and sexual harassment, and for the need of childcare. Some additional information that related to class was the section in the exhibit that emphasized the importance of art, from the theater to the artwork and the propaganda that was created. Art played a huge role in the strikes and movement. This topic hits right home, as a woman in testimony stated, "The fields were my life," and in some way still continues to be part of my life because I also have many family members, including my parents, who still work there. I have worked in the field since the age of 11. I have done everything related to the harvest of grapes, from the cold winters of pruning to the hot summers of picking and packing. As a child, I even lived in what we called Campo California. That since has been renamed to Camp Rodriguez. Campo California was basically a rundown camp of houses where the field workers lived in with their families. It is located a few miles away from Delano near Rich Grove. It is located literally in the middle of the fields. Ugly and torn down does not even describe this place, and I lived there almost 25 years ago. This is a picture I got from Google Maps aerial view. As you can see, there are about 3 rows of houses and a lot of equipment for the harvest. According to Wikipedia, the 2010 census reported the population of the camp was 156. As someone who worked in the field for many years, I appreciate what Dolores Huerta and all those involved in the movement did. But as someone who worked in the fields for many years, I can also say that there was a reason I wanted to get out of there. Conditions are still not ideal, and the pay is still very poorly paid. There is still a lot of improvement that can occur. This is why I decided to end this presentation with this slide again. Dolores Huerta said it herself. People become leaders by doing, and something still needs to be done.